He was stunned and exclaimed, "You!" The scene shifts to the familiar spectator stand on a bright morning. The match quickly began. An account named Poor Employee appeared, typing, "Wait, did I enter the wrong room?" A spear with a gleaming tip appeared right at the top, and the one holding that spear was none other than Sung Ji-han. The Poor Employee account continued to ask, "Ji-han, what are you trying to do?" Ji-han looked up, smiled triumphantly, and said, "I'm going to break it, right now." In the spectator stand, many other accounts were also commenting. Cookie B said, "He's about to do something weird again." Flower Man also commented, "Honestly, I kind of like it. Hehe." Let's see. The Dark Queen, completely covered by a black cloak, stood silently in a corner. Ji-han is someone with real potential. She wanted to know if he was truly the Dark King. A day earlier, back to that conversation. After Seiya showed the phone screen to Ji-han, he was startled and exclaimed, "That's—" Before him was the image of a girl discreetly covered by a cloak, her face hidden. Seiya said, "Yes, I think this person is the Dark Queen." Curious to know the basis for his niece's claim, Ji-han asked, "What makes you think so?" Seiya took her phone back, scrolling to find more information, and said, "I'm not entirely sure, but she is the strongest cadet." Both of them thought of the same image. "At first, we both suspected the Elf Queen sitting on the throne, right?" Ji-han also said, "That's right, because both of them seem to be trying to act like a queen." She zoomed in, pointing at the previous picture, and said, "But this elf is more like the dark queen." Ji-han asked, "Really? Uncle, take a look at the pictures I sent." She then sent Ji-han a few photos for reference. As soon as he saw them, he felt a surprising sense of familiarity. "First, her eye color," Seiya said. Then, looking closely at a picture where the face was clear, she listed a series of characteristics to support her point. "It's not that there aren't elves with pure black eyes, but for even the pupils to be black, isn't that very rare?" Seeing that his niece had a point, he agreed. "You're right." She continued, "And that's not the only strange thing." She provided more information. "Before the game even starts, this elf already has her eyes on the person who will get first place." Hearing that, and knowing he was in that game, he asked, "Has her eyes on them?" Seiya recounted something she noticed whenever she watched Ji-han's matches. "She's always looking at you strangely. Surely it's not just Ji-han being watched. There must be something in the other matches." Seiya continued, "So, I followed the other matches to see." She showed 3 pictures of 3 different people and said, "Here, and here too." She's always staring at the player who will get first place, even before the match begins. It's as if she knows the future. Very strange, isn't it? Seiya asked. After seeing the pictures, Ji-han knew this was no longer a coincidence. "And the most important thing is in the last video," Seiya said, and he instinctively realized the key point. She pointed at the picture and told him, "Look at the shadow at her feet. Look closely." In the phone's picture, it was only faintly visible, but even so, one could make a guess. She said, "The video quality is too low, so it's not clear, but it seems I'm not the only one who finds it strange, right?" Hearing this, he felt enlightened, realizing many things he had missed. This is worth investigating. Unable to believe his eyes, seeing that his niece had figured this out all by herself, Ji-han asked, "Wait, Seiya, did you gather and analyze all of this by yourself?" She replied without hesitation, "Yes, it took a lot of time." Speechless at his niece's dedication, he asked, "You didn't overwork yourself for my sake, did you?" In response, Seiya gave an innocent smile and said, "Not at all. I was free anyway." To not let her efforts of collecting information day and night go to waste, he said, "Thank you, Seiya. In the next match, I'll check it out." She smiled brightly like a flower and replied, "Yes, I hope my analysis is correct." Having said it, he had to do it. Ji-han repeated, much to Seiya's surprise, "All right, then I should keep my promise, shouldn't I?" He then asked, "Do you have a wish? Just say it. I'll grant you anything." Indeed, he had kept his promise. At Jihan's offer, she didn't state her wish, but just looked at him. Then, Saya lowered her head. "Yes. Thank you, uncle." Each word escaped her lips. "I want time to pass." The next match was already underway. Jihan was seen holding a spear, piercing through some unfortunate soul and pinning him to the ground. The force was so immense it seemed to tear the sky apart, making the ground shake and sending debris flying. The system notification appeared. "You have scored a kill." As if accustomed to this, he showed no joy, only thinking calmly, this should be enough to secure first place. After sending the guy logging off from Earth, he looked up and said, "Now then." The arena had a barrier placed between the competition area and the spectator stand. He looked at it while formulating his plan. "I should destroy the spectator stand as planned." An account commented, "Ah, is he trying to destroy the barrier?" Another account added, "Do you all think he's planning to blow up the entire spectator stand?" The Dark Queen, who had a sharp eye for talent, witnessed his power and had to exclaim, "Its strength is equivalent to the shield skill of a diamond rank support. Its purpose is to block all attacks from the competition area to the outside." Jihan's destruction of the barrier was intentional. To use his Voyager's eye to observe her true status, his eyes lit up. He looked up at the barrier and understood. "I have to create a hole in the barrier to see outside." He gripped the spear tightly in his hand, preparing for action. "No. With this, it's entirely possible." He held the spear, preparing to pierce the barrier in front of him. The spear, with its sharp arrowhead, flashed with light. With the phoenix arrow I got from the dungeon. The origin of this spear was no small matter. Phoenix arrow, A-rank item. An arrow of the Punisher, made from a phoenix feather. When thrown, it carries immense power and has the ability to return to its owner. Due to the sealed phoenix flame within, it will disintegrate after being thrown 5 times. Such a powerful weapon, even he was wary of it. Although I can't fully utilize it due to the risk, if I want to break the barrier, piercing it should be enough. With that thought, Jihan spread his legs, holding the spear in a ready stance with a determined gaze, full of fighting spirit. "Now then, Infinite Trinity, show me your face. Immortal Path." Without wasting any more time, Jihan made his first thrust at the barrier. A powerful, brilliant light flashed, illuminating the entire space. After the first strike, he looked up to see if he had succeeded. But alas, such a terrifying attack was like an ant's bite to the barrier, leaving no damage, only a streak of light. Seeing his first attempt fail, accounts jumped in to comment, "Ha ha, I thought it would work. But why aren't those two even blinking?" Being mocked after trying his best, he swiped away all the comments. But with perseverance, one can succeed. Undeterred by failure, he picked up the arrow again, his face more serious than ever, looking quite fearsome. The veins on his hand popped, showing Jihan's determination. "Infinite Trinity!" He frantically stabbed the arrow all over the barrier. Streams of light flashed one after another, looking like a brilliant fireworks display from a distance. Everything seemed about to explode. As it didn't seem to be enough, Jihan continued to charge forward like a storm. "Immortal Path!" Another thrust. Would he succeed this time? Indeed, heaven does not fail those who try. After countless attempts, a hole finally appeared in the barrier. An account saw it and exclaimed, "Crazy! He really broke it!" Without hesitation, he proceeded to the next step. At that moment, the Voyager's eye was activated. His 2 eyes turned blue and glowed. Jihan had changed. Taking advantage of the hole in the barrier, he had to act quickly. "I have to check on her before the barrier regenerates." He looked at that face, looked closer, straight into those eyes. Jihan thought, "Show your face now. Who are you, really?" But not long after, Jihan was pulled into a strange space. It was pitch black all around, with only him present. He was surprised, not understanding what was happening. "Where am I?" Suddenly a light appeared behind him. Jihan cautiously turned around. His eyes widened in surprise. Something suddenly appeared right in front of him. The scene changes. The surroundings were no longer dark, but a beautiful morning. Jihan was now lying on his familiar, comfortable bed, letting out a sigh of relief. Phew. Lying in bed, he lamented. What a tiring day. Jihan closed his eyes and put a hand to his forehead. He was too tired. A person's strength has its limits, and it seemed that after everything, his strength had been completely drained. Jihan's eyes were just waiting to close. I still can't calm down. Remembering being trapped in that infinite dark space, he recalled why he was so tired. Because I used a bronze-tier body to face that thing. Recalling the power that had trapped him in that space, Jihan closed his eyes and lay in thought. It was terrifying. Even compared to myself before regressing, that power was truly astonishing. He suddenly broke into a smile and said, All right. Jihan sat up, realizing that the man's power could be very useful. Achievement store. It suddenly appeared before him. Jihan remembered that he had used all the reward points he had earned so far to level up the achievement store to Laverne 5. The achievement store displayed a series of new activities and features, including an additional constellation slot. He touched the achievement panel, testing the new feature, and thought, with this, I'll be able to choose more constellations. Then Jihan reconsidered. But of course, it's still too early for that now. The achievement panel displayed the text. Earth is currently in its tutorial period. Even if you purchase an additional constellation slot, this feature will not appear on your status window. He didn't need it anyway. It's not necessary right now, so let's just put it aside. After saying that, he swiped it away. He decided to add a title slot first. After tapping the Add Slot option, a notification appeared. You have purchased an additional title slot, Level 1. Looking at the achievement panel, he said to himself, in front of Jihan were his stats. Sung Jihan, you've reached level 22. Just 3 more levels and you'll reach the silver promotion match. Since you have both martial power and a title, it's no exaggeration to say that the silver rank is already in your grasp. There was only one reason why Sung Jihan added another title slot. For the successor of the martial god title he would obtain in the future. An image of Jihan stood amidst countless brilliant stars and suns, emanating a powerful aura. Sung Jihan's martial power will reach 30 soon. Thanks to that, he will obtain the nameless divine arts. Martial power 27, strength 27. His whole body and eyes glowed. In this process, he could connect with the martial god and obtain the title Successor of the Martial God. That was the title he had used before dying in his previous life. Even though it had been a long time, he could never forget it. In this life, he was determined to obtain it again. No matter what happens, I must get that title soon. In his mind, he imagined a scene of countless defeated people falling to the ground, defeated by a man possessing that monstrous power. I will have to fight that guy, he thought, and the one he had to fight was none other than Baron. The scene shifts to a beautiful and bustling cityscape. A real estate agent's voice rang out. This is the center of Gangnam. It's not just an influential area but also has many prestigious schools thanks to its focus on education. Through the glass window, one could see the entire city. This is the symbol of success. The top floor even has the best view of the Han River. The introduction continued. The agent gestured and asked for their opinion after the consultation. What do you two think? This is the best unit I have. 200 square meters should be enough for you two to live comfortably, right? Jihan and Saya seemed to be looking for a new home. Hearing 200 square meters, Jihan thought to himself, too small. Seeing that the two couldn't make a decision and needed to see it in person, the agent invited them, Please, let me show you the room. At the offer, Saya stammered, Oh, okay. Jihan noticed this and realized she probably doesn't like it very much. But thinking about it, her reaction was normal. He remembered the image of Saya growing up day by day in her old house. She's lived in a sword palace on the top floor her whole life, so she won't be happy with a regular apartment. However, he then remembered something from before. He looked out the window. What was beyond Jihan's expectations was that his niece's wish was to move. The conversation from that day replayed in his mind. As Saya sat quietly, thinking about her wish, what she wanted was, "My wish is to move out of here." She said it, to Jihan's slight surprise. She wanted to leave the place she was so attached to. Saya's desire was to leave the Sword Palace. He knew exactly why his niece had made such a sudden decision. Because it's a place full of memories of Yoon Se-jin. It seems she wants to leave as soon as possible. He understood how hard the past period had been for her. Just staying there must have been difficult for her. The agent continued to enthusiastically consult and introduce the room. "This room is very spacious, and the layout is perfect, isn't it? As you know, even at this price, this unit has never been vacant, and for good reason." Seeing that the situation was not progressing, he thought to himself, "I need to find a house she likes as quickly as possible." Hearing the agent's pitch, Saya could only reply with a non-committal, "Yes," without any further comment. At that moment, from behind, Jihan spoke up to break the awkward atmosphere. "It seems we need a place with more space." Saya turned to look at him. He quickly added, "My niece will become a player soon, and she'll need a place for her equipment." The agent immediately said, "I understand. I'll try to find a house that fits your requirements." Before leaving, the agent didn't forget to compliment her. "Miss Saya, having an uncle who is both strong and handsome, you must feel very reassured." Jihan politely replied, "Thank you for the compliment, but I still have a lot to improve on. As a fan, I will continue to support you." In response to the agent's enthusiasm, he was also very happy. "Thanks a lot." But the man replied, "No, I should be the one thanking you more." Seeing Jihan's confused expression, the agent explained directly, "Actually, I'm also from the Sword King family, although I left immediately after the shock of the Sword King changing his nationality to Japanese. After leaving, I was very worried about Miss Saya. It must have been very difficult for her, so I was worried she might have negative thoughts. But seeing her trying her best to overcome her predicament, I feel very relieved." It seemed these sincere words had touched Saya's heart, moving her to tears. "There are still many things to worry about, but congratulations on your awakening, Miss Saya." Tears welled up in the corners of her eyes, about to fall. After hearing those words, she felt comforted, as if a weight had been lifted. "You will receive a wonderful gift." Saya lowered her head, trying to hide the emotions she had suppressed for so long. Jihan stood beside her, also speechless. But he thought, "This is trouble." Because of the concern for Saya. After the battle between Korea and Japan, the interest in Saya had increased. He remembered the day she was harassed by reporters. Especially now, everyone must be interested in Saya's awakening and gift. The agent continued to smile and talk to her, while Jihan continued to worry silently for Saya. But when she receives an F-rank gift, all that attention will become her poison. As he thought, he imagined Saya collapsing to the ground, hands covering her face in despair. Next was the image of taunts and slanders from the outside. "The Sword King Yoon Se-jin's daughter received an F-rank gift. Our expectations have returned, but with an F-rank. The SSS rank traitor and the F-rank daughter. Another stain named daughter." Just thinking about it was unbearable for him. Jihan was determined. I must prevent that at all costs. Looking at her, he knew what he had to do in the coming time. I have to limit others' access to her as much as possible. Especially, he was thinking of someone. Unsurprisingly, it was the press. The scene shifts to Kim Hyuna, the granddaughter of the chairman of the day-in newspaper. She was on the phone, smiling brightly. "Yes, Uncle Reporter." She sat on a chair, twirling her hair, and started plotting her dirty schemes. Yes, it's August 22nd. That's Saya's birthday, so she'll be at the school's gift hall. Come on, don't worry. I'll help you interview her." Before hanging up, she even said, "See you then." A blonde guy nearby taunted her. "This disgusting girl. Look at her fake face. Truly born from a family of journalists. Tisk, a wolf in sheep's clothing. A true white lotus." She wasn't ashamed of her actions and said, "If you don't like it, you can get lost. He stretched and replied, "You saying that makes me sad. If not for this opportunity, when would I get to meet our Seiya? But why do you hate that beautiful girl so much?" As friendly and kind as she appeared on the outside, Hyuna was now incredibly fake, confidently saying, "What else? She can't even compare to me but always wants to be on the same level. If it weren't for BattleNet, I wouldn't have to see that poor wretch." He asked again after hearing her belittle Seiya, "Then why do you want to interview that bitch?" She casually looked at her phone and replied, "Isn't she a perfect subject for an article? Besides, I should help my family out a bit." She even smirked and added, "And if her gift is garbage, this is the perfect opportunity to make her a laughingstock." Even the blonde guy had to exclaim, "You really are a cunning bitch." She showed him a picture of Jihan on her phone. "That's why your job is the most important. Sung Jihan, who's been very famous lately, is that bitch's uncle, and he sticks to her all day long." She looked serious and asked, "Are you sure you can defeat Sung Jihan?" He laughed sinisterly, then cursed, "You crazy bitch," and very arrogantly claimed, "I wouldn't even glance at that insect." The real insects were probably him and Hyuna. He reminded her of her promise. "Remember to keep your promise." She also replied, "Tisk, you disgusting bastard." These two were truly shameless and full of schemes. He cracked his neck and said, "Don't worry." Hyuna continued to utter inhumane words. "After I'm done with my part, I'll let you do whatever you want with that bitch Seiya." Hearing that, he gave a delighted smile as a good show was about to unfold. A blue light shone down, reflecting on the glass of the Gaon Academy building in Gangnam. 2020, August 21st, 10:14 a.m. Time until Seiya's awakening. "Seiya, don't be like that." She turned away, looking helpless. "Stop it, Hyuna." She clasped her hands together, begging, "Please, reconsider. Please. It's all for you." Seiya was in a difficult position. "No, I said I don't want to." Hyuna's eyes drooped sadly as she looked at her. "If you keep this up, I'll be sad. Because of the Sword King, they're slandering an innocent person like you." Hyuna continued, "Wouldn't it be better if there was some good news to attract everyone's attention? To help you, I had to beg my grandfather a lot." Seiya stood up abruptly. "It's okay. I'm fine. Thank you. But you don't have to do that." Saying that, she turned to leave. "I'm going to the restroom for a bit." Hyuna's face scrunched up and she gritted her teeth. That damn girl. I don't understand her. I thought she would be obedient. She flicked her hair. "Tisk, whatever. I'll just go to the gift hall and wait." She stared into the distance. It's tonight. I wonder what kind of gift that bitch will get. Then, she smirked. While I'm at it, I should also pick a reporter and send her straight to hell. I hope she gets an F-rank gift. Seiya's excuse to go to the restroom was just to sit there. She sighed. This is so hard. Actually, I know everything. She closed her eyes tightly. I know what Hyuna thinks of me. You're still sticking with Yoon Seiya? That pouty lip is covered in a thin layer of lip balm, like a lip balm. Are you two best friends? Two other girls asked Hyuna. She was startled for a moment. Don't be ridiculous. The two friends continued. We heard that once she becomes pathetic, you're going to kick her out. Of course. Before cutting ties, I have to use her. Yoon Seiya is just a tool. What can you use her for? Her hand fumbled in her makeup bag. My family is in the news business. When she falls to hell, it's best to take advantage of her. One could easily sense that Hyuna's intentions were not as simple as they appeared. Please, I hope she gets an F-rank gift and goes crazy. I have to take a picture of her reaction and post it. You crazy bitch. That sounds fun. They kept talking, completely unaware that someone was quietly sitting there. Seiya clenched her fists, gripping her skirt. She couldn't believe what they were saying about her was true. Look carefully. The readers will love it. Her face darkened with overwhelming disappointment. She was shocked by Hyuna's true colors. She bit her lip. From then on, she began to feel insecure. She thought that maybe she really would get an F-rank gift. Alone, she harbored her worries. Hyuna probably isn't the only one hiding her true nature. She clasped her hands as if in prayer. I can't get an F-rank gift. Please. She was gradually losing hope in herself. Please give me a good gift. The circle finally glowed red, like a ruby in the dark night. She fell into silence, her eyes wide as she looked at the blinding light. The scene is the same, but now it's 2020, August 21st, 7 o'clock p.m., 5 hours until Seiya's awakening. He raised his hand to check his watch. It was almost 7:05. Jihan thought quietly. Still 5 more hours. A security guard spoke up. This way, please, Mr. Sung, he asked. Is Seiya still safe inside the gift hall? Yes, the guards are keeping her safe, he replied. Thank you. Don't let any outsiders in, especially the press. Don't worry, sir. They have also prevented school staff from entering. The government is also paying special attention. It's full of people everywhere now. Even a fly would have a hard time getting through. Around this time yesterday, I talked to manager Park Yoon-sik about the Sword Palace's donation. Jihan sat on the sofa, on the phone. Ah, that's right. Tomorrow is officially the day Seiya will awaken as a player, right? Ah, yes. So you already knew. Even with the current situation, I'm worried someone might break into the awakening site, the other end of the line replied. Manager Park Yoon-sik understood the situation very well. If you agree, I can try to ask the guards on site for help. The government has already provided support for Seiya's personal safety. He smiled happily, closing his eyes gently. So I've received help again. Jihan suddenly opened his eyes. We've arrived. The security guard said, This is the gift hall. We have also prepared a chair right in front for you. You can rest while you wait. Thank you. I'll see you at midnight. Yes, if you need anything, please let me know right away. After saying that, he left. He sat there alone on the waiting chair. Ah, he sighed deeply, biting his lip. He probably understood his own anxiety. Jihan rolled his head back and forth, telling himself, Don't be so anxious. This time, I can be by her side and protect her. His gaze softened. I have no other choice now. In Seiya's hands was a golden light, a small circular cord with delicate lines resembling an angel's wings. He hoped this gift would bring Seiya great comfort. It was now 11:55 p.m., only 5 minutes left, until Seiya's awakening. Oh my, as expected. You're here, uncle. The voice came from Hyuna. He glanced at her with a look of disgust. She approached him with a young man. How have you been, uncle? She smiled gently, but her eyes didn't. We seem to meet often, don't we? I clearly remember her saying she was Seiya's friend. But the person next to her is a reporter, right? He glared at her, turning away. How did you get in here? I thought they blocked anyone from entering. He stood opposite her, hands in his pockets. You know, uncle, media companies usually have extensive connections. I asked a contact to get me in. He looked at her and said, So you're not even trying to hide the fact that you snuck in? Hyuna gave a forced laugh. You say snuck in? I have some business to take care of, so I came to my school. She continued, I've decided to interview Seiya today. He looked at her angrily. Don't talk nonsense and go back. After her awakening, Seiya will go home immediately. I'm warning you for the first and last time. Is this okay? It looks like we're going to have trouble. The young man with her said, his face panicked, still holding the camera he had prepared. She put her hands on her hips. That's not very nice. With indifference, she held her hands out in front of her. I have to interview her at all costs. If that's the case, I won't just sit back either. What should I do? I can't possibly win against her uncle. She feigned worry and lamented. Suddenly her face lit up. Or how about this? Her eyes became more dangerous. While protecting his niece, the Love 27 support player Sung Ji-han was ambushed by an unknown Level 50 warrior. The silhouette of someone raising a fist to attack him appeared, blurry, yet his eyes remained unwavering. Seiya knelt on the ground. A screen appeared above her. Congratulations, you have awakened as a player. The gift I possess is Late Bloomer, is gift rank, F. I was hoping it wouldn't be this bad. A punch attacked him, glowing with red flames. Now, Seiya's face was lowered in sadness, her words heartbreaking. So it's really over. Jihan's eyes gradually lost their color, leaving only the whites. Veins bulged on his face. Sung Jihan was suddenly sneak-attacked from behind by the Laverne 50 warrior, making him stumble forward. The attacker smirked smugly. Just lie there. I'll be sure to love and care for our Seiya. He remained silent after the sudden attack, but was otherwise unharmed. He directed a murderous gaze, like an arrow, straight at him. He growled, "How dare you mention her name?" The attacker looked at him in confusion, pointing forward and asking, "You took that hit and you're still fine? You're tougher than I thought." Immediately, Jihan threw a punch at the Laverne 50 warrior's face. Then he realized, stone skin. That's right. His fist was blocked by it, causing the man no damage. He laughed triumphantly. "You know a lot, but why don't you look surprised?" His eyes glowed as he landed another blow on Sung Jihan. He said, "Are you that confident?" Hyuna was still very calm. She crossed her arms. "Oh, really?" Then she spoke mockingly as she watched their fight. "Is he really winning?" The Lover 50 warrior spun around, preparing to unleash a powerful punch with red lightning. He cursed, "People keep praising you with that rising star nickname. That's why you don't know your place, huh?" Right after, he confidently punched Sung Jihan as if he knew he would win. "Answer me, you bastard! How many more times do I have to hit you before you open your mouth?" As soon as he finished his arrogant words, he was hit by an uppercut from below that deformed his face. Jihan calmly sent him flying into the air, blood splattering everywhere. The cameraman was terrified, his face pale, while Hyuna was equally shocked. Jihan used his ability to create a magical hand that grabbed the low 50 warrior's hair. He was suspended in the air, struggling to escape. He cried out, "Ugh, what is this? What just happened?" But he remained calm, clenching his fist to control his power. With that intense red power, his eyes also turned bloodshot and sharp. He spoke mockingly, "You already look like a thug, and you act like one too." He frowned, full of killing intent, and growled, "I'm going to carve a seal on you so you can never do things like this again." Immediately, he swung his magical fist backward, and at the same time the warrior's head was pulled back frighteningly. The cameraman, now too terrified, ran away, leaving Hyuna standing there frozen, just watching. His whole body fell from above in front of her, making a loud sound. She was stunned, her face pale as she looked down. Then she was utterly terrified, her eyes wide with fear, teeth clenched. "Kya!" She screamed in terror, as if wanting to shatter the entire space. On Saya's side, having just awakened, she was slumped on the ground, disappointed and let down. Her eyes were filled with sadness, a sense of helplessness overwhelming her mind. Warm tears began to well up in her sorrowful eyes. She immediately wiped them away. Saya comforted herself. "Come on, don't cry." She regained her strong spirit. "What can I change by just sitting here being sad?" Then she stood up. She said, "Let's get up. Uncle is waiting for me." Then she left the awakening site, taking steps outside to meet Sung Jihan. But she was still very sad and worried as she looked at her status window. What should I do from now on? Even if I participate as a player with an F-rank gift, I'll surely just be scraping by, trembling in the bronze rank. The system stated, "Late bloomer, gift rank, F. You will realize your potential later." Seiya sighed. And what's with this short explanation? The door opened. She was about to step out, still mumbling, "And I've been praying like a fool all this time." Suddenly, she was startled by a loud scream, "Kya!" When she saw clearly what was happening, the thing before her was a clump of orange hair floating in the air. He was using his energy to hold the warrior's hair, while the man himself lay on the ground, nearly bald. She turned to ask, Uncle, what happened?" He replied calmly, "He deserved it." But she still didn't quite understand. Hyuna!" In front, Hyuna was screaming and cursing, "You crazy bastard!" Jihan heard it and said, "Look over there, Saya." Saya looked in that direction and saw Hyuna holding the bald head of the Lover 50 warrior, screaming like a madwoman. "How dare you do this to him? Do you know who my grandfather is? He's the chairman of the day-in newspaper." She continued to shout threats, but he couldn't care less, casually controlling the orange hair to fly towards her and asking, "So what?" When the hair hit Hyuna, she fell backward and exclaimed, "Ugh!" Sung Ji-han, with a cold expression, replied emotionlessly, "Who cares if your family owns a major newspaper? Are you planning to manipulate the media?" Hearing that, she brushed the hair off her and boldly and arrogantly said, "You think I'll stop there? I'll also create fake news and spread it." Her eyes blazed, not understanding the danger she was in. "I'll turn you into the filthiest family in the world. People will be disgusted to see you. You know, they don't care about the truth." Those piercing words made veins pop on Jihan's head, but he remained silent, listening. Saya, on the side, was a bit sad and disappointed that her friend Hyuna kept spewing such filth. "Because of the Sword King, public opinion is already very negative, so this is good, isn't it?" Jihan had heard enough. He was no longer silent and challenged her. "Go ahead and try." He approached Hyuna, making her wary and step back in fear. He said, "We just need to leave Korea." Now she was panicked. She exclaimed, "Huh?" But all she saw was his murderous intent, his eyes showing a cruel ruthlessness. In his hand was a blazing fire, as if it would burn the arrogant to ashes. He threatened back, "But can you bear the price for your actions?" But look, Hyuna still didn't understand the seriousness of the situation, still arrogantly retorting, "Stop acting cool, you poor bastard. If it weren't for BattleNet and Yoon Se-jin, you wouldn't even be able to meet me." Hearing that, he flicked a flame from his palm. "Tisk. I understand." Suddenly, Hyuna was engulfed in flames, making her look around in shock. At her arrogance, he just waved his hand and calmly judged, "You're the type of person who never reflects on their mistakes." His eyes were filled with killing intent, and the flames grew stronger, lunging at her like a hungry ghost, enveloping Hyuna. He gave a final warning. "Then I'll have to make you remember clearly what happens if you mess with us." The window from the outside glowed from the blazing fire inside, accompanied by her piercing screams. "Kya!" After everything was settled, they returned to the old, battered yellow car in the parking garage. Yunsea sat beside him, worried, and stammered, "Uncle, is this really okay?" She hesitated and continued, "I'm glad we could get revenge on Hyuna, but I'm a little worried." Jihan turned to her and asked, "What are you worried about?" "The day-in newspaper is the biggest media company in our country," she replied. He just smiled and reassured his little niece. "Don't worry, nothing will happen." As he finished, he thought to himself, because they're too big, they can't act rashly. Besides, from the beginning, it's absurd for a media company to do such things just for the chairman's granddaughter. As he started the car, he thought further, if they have any sense left, they won't mess with a player who's currently receiving so much attention. Saya was also questioning in her mind, how can he be so confident? It's interesting. But now there's something more important, Jihan thought to himself, then turned to her and gently asked, "So, what gift did you get?" His direct question startled Saya a bit. She lowered her head, her eyes filled with sadness, not answering him. After regaining some composure, she said, "Late bloomer, it's an F-rank gift." He looked at her and said to himself, "Just as I expected." He immediately opened his status window and touched it while she was still downcast. "If I want to be a successful player, it's probably going to be very difficult." Hearing that, Jihan immediately said, "Saya, look at this." She turned to ask, "Is that your status window?" He replied, "Yeah, this is the first time I'm showing it to someone else." As soon as she looked at the status window, she was so shocked her eyes widened. Wait, it shows Voyager's Eye, F-rank. It can see other players' information." She exclaimed, "What is that? Your gift is also F-rank?" Seeing that, she questioned, "Then how are you so strong?" He smiled. "Look at the stats at the top." She asked back, "Huh? What are they? Martial power? Strength? Are these really BattleNet stats? Jihan then answered her question. They are unique stats. Most people don't know about them because the conditions to obtain them are hidden. As you can see, the rank of the gift isn't everything. Receiving that new information left her completely astonished. He continued, Seiya, you can also get unique stats. And before that, he held up a round monocle with sparkling golden wings, holding it towards her and instructing, This item will show you the path you will walk. After bringing out the treasure for Seiya, Sung Ji-han reminisced about the past, recalling the image of a brown-haired, golden-eyed girl from before his regression, who was ranked second in the world, Jin Yu-ha. She appeared with a serious, determined face, and what was special about her was that her gift was also late bloomer. Being ranked second, her power was undeniable. With a single swing, she could annihilate the him of the past. Just watching her on a TV screen, he recounted, Back then, I couldn't believe my own eyes. At that time, Jihan was astonished. Now he realized that the F-rank gift that had driven Seiya to despair and death hid such a secret. The special monocle with golden wings could see the information of the late bloomer gift. Gift rank, F number of matches to attend until upgrade, 50. Upgrade. Condition. To upgrade, you must participate in BattleNet matches. Yoon Seiya was amazed and asked, What is this? She looked through the round monocle, her mind full of questions needing answers. A gift that can be upgraded? Moreover, the basic effect is also... Jihan, satisfied, smiled beside her. He spoke, Isn't this gift amazing? While whispering to himself, just as I thought. That item worked. On her side, she was wearing it to experience it. And here was the information on the monocle. Hermes' monocle. Item rank A. A monocle of the Olympian god, Hermes. A one-time use item that can identify the true nature of a player's gift. He remembered the process of creating it. An hidden item I obtained by repairing the C-rank item, Broken Messenger's monocle. At that time, Jihan had used his ability to create it. A system notification appeared. You have used emergency recovery. I made it the day before Seiya's birthday. Returning to the present, he looked at her and explained a few more things for her to understand. The fact that the gift's rank can increase is already amazing, but even its basic effect isn't bad, because 100% growth rate means your training efficiency will be double that of others. Seiya was astonished. So, isn't that a very good effect? He nodded in agreement. Yes, that's right. With this effect, you can quickly obtain the rare stats I told you about. Her face showed even more surprise. The monocle slowly faded away. He spoke very gently and slowly, as if to soothe his little niece's soul. Seiya, don't you think you can also aim for the top player spot? Really? A short question, but filled with so many emotions. He blinked his eyes as he witnessed the scene before him. A tear rolled down Seiya's cheek. She asked again, as if she couldn't believe it, Did I really get a very good gift, uncle? As she finished, she began to sob, her body trembling as she looked at him. Jihan's eyes were filled with gentleness as he praised her. Yes, your gift is very good, Seiya. He thought painfully. I wonder how much hope she was carrying. He thought of the time Yoon Se-jin defected to Japan, thinking sorrowfully, after she was disowned and abandoned by her father. Her father kept muttering that he had no daughter, and people just used Seiya as a topic for cheap gossip. The image of her sitting alone in a crowd, isolated and exploited. Therefore, Seiya wouldn't want to overcome difficulties as the Sword King's abandoned daughter, but as an independent player named Yoon Seiya. But in the present, she had a reason to be strong, to stand on her own. He used his ability to control a tissue to fly over to her, his heart still aching. She must have been so worried, in case she got a useless gift. Seiya was a little surprised to see the tissue. He sat still and encouraged her. You did very well. It must have been very hard for you, so you can cry as much as you want. But then she took the tissue, wiped her tear-streaked face, and said, No, I'll stop crying now. I don't even have enough time to smile. He could only helplessly say, With a slightly flushed face, Seiya turned and asked, "But I always feel like you're so mysterious. It's like you know everything about the future." Being hit so close to home, he could only give a forced laugh and find an excuse. "Just consider me lucky." After clearing her emotions, she smiled brightly and said, "Now that I've calmed down, I'm suddenly hungry." Hearing that, he stood up, ready to go to the kitchen. "Then let's have a meal. I'll cook something for you," she asked back. "At this hour?" Sung Ji-han turned his head, smiled brightly, and said kindly, "I promised, remember, that next time I'd cook something even better for you. I've prepared a lot of dishes to celebrate your birthday." Hearing the word birthday, Seiya's eyes widened in surprise as she looked at her uncle. Then she gave a very happy smile and replied, "Okay." While the uncle and niece were enjoying a delicious dinner in a high-rise building, Hyuna, with only a few strands of hair left, her eyebrows also gone, her face horrified, cried and screamed, "Ah!" She sat in a luxurious office, still crying her eyes out and cursing loudly. "Everything's burned. My hair, my eyebrows, everything. Damn it. Sung Ji-han, that crazy bastard. Oh God, what am I going to tell my parents?" Suddenly, a security guard in a black suit opened the door and entered. "I'm here, Miss Hyuna." She was startled and shouted, "Kie, don't you know how to knock? You're pissing me off." He bowed, apologized, and handed her a phone. "My apologies. I've brought the recording from the surveillance camera as you wished." Hyuna snatched it and dismissed him. "I know, get out." The poorly treated security guard cursed silently. "What a bitch," she cried while scrolling through the screen. "I can't live like this." She secretly devised a plan. "I need to find something to destroy him." Suddenly, she stopped. It seemed she had come up with a very dirty plan. Her mouth curved into a sly smile. "Hehe, my dear, sweet little Seiya." On the phone was an image of Yoon Seiya, just awakened, looking at her gift with a sad expression. This was exactly what Hyuna wanted. She mocked, "You're not good at hiding your feelings at all, are you? That about-to-cry face of yours is perfect for the papers." She looked at the screen smugly, still with that evil expression and vile smile. Hyuna spoke again. "So you got an F-rank gift? How can you make a face that just makes people want to destroy you?" "Hyuna, you still haven't realized your mistake. You will receive a fitting lesson in the near future." She laughed like a maniac who had found a new toy. "You're all finished." With such stubbornness, it's best to ignore her for now and listen to some recent news about the long-forgotten Kim Gwang. He was like a half-crazy person, mumbling about unrequited love and a broken heart. The chat in the screen started buzzing. "Dog barks endlessly," commented. "Huang Guang?" TK Ice Cream wrote, "Whoa, it's been a long time." Meanwhile, he just sat there, contemplating, remembering the image of Sung Ji-han looking incredibly cool in his matches. He closed his eyes and said, "I've been through empty, victorious days, drowning in sorrow because I wasn't chosen by the one I admire." A spare hand typed a comment. "He's even watching Sung Ji-han's stream." Chestnut Jelly wrote, "Just confess your love to him already." Then he imagined Kim Do-yoon, then the Black Eagle Guild, then envisioned himself in shining golden armor, holding Sung Ji-han majestically, and declared, "That ugly, disgusting fire mage, those cowardly and smelly eagles, all those who stand in your way, I, Huang Guang, have stopped them." Crispy Bacon commented cheerfully, "Well, that's true, but I don't think that's how it happened." Grandma's Vineyard wrote, "Ha ha." Then he stood up, striking a bizarre pose, and said loudly, "But then I realized something." He clutched his chest, his face a mix of bitterness and pain, lamenting, "I, Huang Guang, was destined to become your manager, Jihan." An employee commented, "Uh-huh, without a doubt you're watching his stream." The forms of terrifying zombies appeared. He flamboyantly said, "So I beg you, O great Jihan." Then, at the moment, he held his spear and fought, unleashing a powerful blow that sent several monsters flying. "Please read my message." Jihan's hand spun the powerful weapon. Frozen Tonkatsu commented, "All right, everyone, time to scream." Public Canon wrote, "Whoa." At that moment, he unleashed countless deadly blows on the monsters. The light from his attacks flashed, shattering them. The chat below exploded. King Redstone commented, "So cool." Dog Barks endlessly wrote, "But what are his teammates doing?" Solo Kimbop Heaven noted, "It seems like joining Sung Ji-han's team and just watching him has become a trend." It was true. His 3 teammates below were huddled together eating popcorn and watching the match, not lifting a finger. Ji-han is the one, commented, "Ah well, it's understandable. If you don't bother him, you're guaranteed a top spot, haha." Get Out also chatted, "They're even eating popcorn, haha." Beneath Jihan's feet were now thousands of powerful lightning bolts. He directly executed the nameless divine arts, spear style. Then a clean slash that took off a monster's head. The final blow was heaven-shattering thunder steps. And so, the match ended. Jihan's eyes remained sharp as he looked at the achievement board. "You have achieved first place in this match." The 3 teammates, seeing the battle was over, stood up and chatted casually as if on vacation. "Eating popcorn is so hard. Next time let's get half onion flavor and half caramel." He opened his status window. "You have reached level 25. You can now participate in the silver promotion match." The chat was in an uproar. Dancing Plate commented, "He's still in bronze?" Fan of Jinno 1 chatted, "Stop smurfing down here and just get promoted already." The system sent another notification. "You have obtained the title Ruler of Bronze by completing bronze matches with the highest win rate. You have been selected for a spot in the global top 100 of the Bronze Cup." He looked at the notification with a surprised expression. "On August 25th, you will be placed in the top 100 promotion match." Lambsauce 5023 commented, "Whoa, for real? Global top 100? Even if you lose, no one cares," chatted. "It's been a while since I've seen that notification in Korea." Only Watching U700 commented, "So he's definitely getting to silver, hehe. Global top 100. He thought to himself, "This means my BattleNet score has reached the global top 100 threshold, and players selected for the top 100 are guaranteed a promotion, even if they just participate in the promotion match. You are in the top 100 and have received a silver promotion. Furthermore, the promotion match has an additional feature, and that is..." An image of Sung Ji-han stood on a pile of countless bodies, surrounded by a myriad of enemies. He continued, "To fight until only one remains. The promotion match will be in the form of a survival game." He swung his sword, cutting down a player, the sharp blade emitting a blinding light. He thought further. And it won't end until only one person is left alive, a stage to find out who is the one true leader. Returning to reality, Ji-han was staring motionlessly at the notification board announcing he was in the global top 100. Tianma commented, No, he's looking at it." Happy Gourd chatted, "Looks like there's a top 100 list now." He pondered deeply. "Just as expected, I'm also participating in the global top 100 around this time." The image of a man's half-face appeared. He reminisced, "It's been a while, Baron Williams, the global bronze ranker." It was a foreigner with blonde hair and serious blue eyes. Baron Williams, number 1 in the USA. He looked at the notification board, thinking, "I expected to meet him sooner than last time, but I didn't think it would be this soon." Ji-han was worried, his gaze a little unsteady. "This is not good." He hesitated. "This is a bit unexpected. Could I lose? But I've never been able to beat Baron." The deciding factor that got Sung Ji-han into the top 100 was his divine power stat. It gave him powerful, accumulated energy in a sphere of potent red magic and maintained it well. Of course, strength was equally important. When the nameless divine arts skill was unlocked, a composite stat appeared, combining strength, endurance, and speed. It was arranged like an equilateral triangle with endurance at the top, strength on the left, and speed on the right. Absolute domain, magic power enhancement, telekinesis. But that factor allowed him to control objects, even people, within a certain range, creating flames in the palm of his hand. The power of divine power was truly superior. However, even with such capabilities, creating a swirling sphere that seemed to want to swallow the planet, there was still a difference in level. An image appeared of Baron summoning magic circles, raining down powerful fire magic on the ground, shaking the heavens and earth. The desperate screams, "Ah!" of the unfortunate souls were met only by his cruel gaze. He knew that the divine power used by Baron was on a completely different level. So what is divine power? It's a stat proportional to both magic power and holy power. Baron possessed an immense amount of mana, so his divine power, if compared, was twice as strong as Sung Ji-han's. No matter how good Ji-han's mana control was, it became useless against absolute power. The two facing each other was like a god from above and a mortal on the ground. From the very beginning, Baron had maintained his top position with his divine power without any control ability. Thinking about these things made the present-day Sung Ji-han more anxious and diligent. He touched the floor, his entire body weight supported by one hand to maintain balance. While training his body, he closed his eyes and thought, "It's not for nothing that he's ranked number 1. He was already famous for his diamond-tier magic power from the start." Then he slowly opened his eyes, as if looking straight at the truth. Fighting him head-on is suicide. I have to unlock the nameless divine arts now. He trained until night, when the tall buildings were lit up. Sitting in his room, he scrolled through information on the system panel. The image of Baron Williams appeared on it again, his gaze as sharp as ever, no different from before the regression. Ji-han broke into a sweat and gave a helpless laugh. "Huh, no matter how I look at it, it's unbelievable. Is this really the same person?" He looked at the two images. On the left was Baron now, on the right was Baron before the regression, a clear difference that made him wonder endlessly. They say when he became a guild master, he tried hard to appear mature. How could he change so much? Suddenly the phone next to him rang. The caller was Lee Hayan. He looked at the name on the screen and wondered, "Lee Hayan? Is she calling to thank me?" Then he quickly accepted the call. "Hello?" The other end also spoke. "Sung Ji-han?" She continued. "Can you give me one more choice?" That sentence made him pause for a moment. Then he looked at the screen again, doubting if it was the right caller. He let out a confused, "Huh?" Early the next morning, as the sun rose, casting its bright rays down on the Divergence Guild, a towering skyscraper, Lim Ga-yoon spoke. "Miss..." Lee Hayan was startled, her face a bit awkward. "Ah." She turned and asked, "Ga-yoon, what is it?" Lim Ga-yoon replied, "I came to take you to the meeting point." Only then did Hayan realize. "Ah, right. It's time. But wait for me for 5 minutes." Hearing the young lady say that, she couldn't help but wonder, what's wrong? Lee Hayan didn't hide anything and explained, "Actually, this morning I asked Sung Ji-han for another choice." Ga-yoon beside her asked bluntly, "Aren't you embarrassed?" Hearing that, Hayan lamented, "Losing money is already painful enough, don't mock me too, please." Lim Ga-yoon suddenly wondered, "So, which match are you predicting?" While scrolling through her phone, she asked Ga-yoon, "Have you heard the news? Sung Ji-han is participating in the global top 100. It seems Baron from the US is also participating." Hayan provided a flood of new information that left Ga-yoon a bit surprised. Now she was pulling her hair, not knowing what to do. She asked the person behind her, "Do you think I should bet on Mr. Ji-han?" Hearing that, Ga-yoon replied, "Absolutely." Hayan also thought it was worth a shot. "That's right, isn't it? But if the opponent is Baron, it will be difficult. How can you defeat someone who continuously attacks while flying around?" Lim Ga-yoon marveled at his promising and terrifying abilities, also feeling a bit doubtful about their future match. "You think so too, right?" Lee Hayan's sudden words surprised her. Hayan was still fiddling with her phone, turned her head, already wavering in her choice. "Baron has a higher chance of winning, right? In the Korea-Japan match, I was a bit shaken because his predictions were so accurate, but I'll bet on Baron." Hayan was firm in her opinion, but at this moment, She was also hesitant between the two sides. For some reason, Gayun wanted to deny it. "What about you?" Hyan suddenly asked her. She continued, "Are your BattleNet points good?" That question froze Gayun. Without getting an answer, Hyan said, "It seems you've been working quite hard lately." But Gayun could only utter a non-committal, "Ah." Then her face became somber, her eyes dark, as if she had something on her mind. She clenched her fists, her hands covered in bandaged wounds. Hyan spoke again. "Anyway, the thing I told you." The scene shifts back to Sung Ji-han. He was opening his status window. Name: Sung Ji-han. Level: Levied 25. Affiliation: Bronze League, Gangnam, 1 region. Martial power: 29. Divine power: 29. Subclass: Support. Subclass: Mage. Gift: Voyager's Eye, F rank. Knows the information of other players. Nickname: The Guides Master, GP1. He said, "It's real." Then he closed his eyes and sighed. Ugh. Suddenly he opened his eyes and thought, now the conditions are met. He then touched the status window. A notification appeared. Martial power stat increased. Martial power has reached 30. But he remained motionless in his room. He closed his eyes once more. A notification appeared. Voyager's Eye has been activated. Then he opened his eyes wide. A golden light flashed in his pupils, and then Ji-han was as if transported to another dimension, outside the universe. A giant humanoid figure, colored like the stars, appeared. The wandering martial god constellation has discovered you through the traces of his grace. He floated in midair, thinking, only darkness surrounds me. His eyes widened as he thought further. I can't see anything, but I can feel it. It feels like last time. The notification appeared again. The wandering martial god is observing you. The wandering martial god has declared you will be his successor. We meet again. The martial god spoke. A stream of grace flowed out like a connecting thread between them. He just looked up, though he couldn't see clearly. I am endlessly grateful. In my previous life, I also received much help from him. The system displayed, learned skill, nameless divine arts. It felt like a source of energy entered his hand. He thought to himself, usually a constellation's protection brings good results, but the wandering martial god didn't ask for anything from me. The two faced each other, the great god gradually transferring his power into Sung Ji-han. The system continuously notified, learned technique, Trinity arts. Learned technique, heaven-shattering thunder steps. He realized he had reached martial power 30, but suddenly the system turned red and warned that the wandering martial god was frowning. Just that was enough to make Ji-han feel like he was about to explode. Energy enveloped him, his expression gradually turning pained. He clutched his head in disbelief. What? The connection was severed? The system displayed. He is not satisfied because your 3 dantians are already open. What? He was stunned. The system continued to explain. The wandering martial god is wary of you. Ji-han was still bewildered, asking back, wary of me? Just because my 3 dantians are open? Are gods so easily wary of others? He didn't know what to do, just looking around in the gradually darkening space. The system turned green again. Skill cancellation successful. A lightning bolt appeared in one of Hanji's eyes. He was in a state of utter shock, unable to believe it. The wandering martial god constellation has withdrawn its grace. As soon as the notification finished, his body emitted terrifying lightning bolts, making him scream in pain. Because of that, Ji-han returned to reality, hands clutching his head, his body trembling. With great difficulty, he forced his eyes open, his mind still remembering the scene just now. He looked around his familiar room in a panic. What was that? I'm back. He immediately called for his status window. It instantly appeared, but his right eye was still in so much pain he couldn't fully open it. He stood motionless, examining the window. Sung Ji-han, former rank 7 in the world. He scowled, sweating, and said, "This is a disaster, right before the top 100 match." Because inside the status window it showed, "Gift, none." He was helpless. My gift is gone, and so he had lost the most important thing to him. From the school gate, Yoon Saya came out, exclaiming loudly, "I'm on break!" Then she opened the car door, got in, and smiled at Sung Ji-han, saying, "I'm here, uncle." He nodded and praised her. "Good job." His car drove leisurely down the road. In the car, he asked, "Are you feeling more relieved now?" Hearing that, she placed her hand on her chest, her face relaxed, and replied, "Yes, I feel much better." After seeing Yoon Sea's state, he thought to himself. After Sea's awakening, she decided to drop out of the academy. The main purpose of joining the academy was for their gifts, so dropping out after awakening is completely normal. At this moment, Sung Ji-han remembered a question on a website. "I've awakened. Should I drop out? I have a C rank gift, and people usually drop out right after getting C rank or higher. But I'm also considering finishing the program. I'm worried." He scrolled down and read a comment that said, "My friend also dropped out and signed a contract with a guild. He's in training now." Then he remembered his training days. He stated firmly, "Specifically, Saya decided not to go anywhere because I will be the one training her." At this moment, she was diligently training. He kept pushing her, more, while she, trembling, tried to endure, painfully saying, "Uncle, I can't take it anymore." Finally, he made a resolution. From now on, Saya will not face any more problems. Returning to reality, Sung Ji-han was driving, lost in thought. "My biggest problem right now is myself." Suddenly, he frowned, thinking of something else. The top 100 match is tomorrow. Losing the Voyager's eye is one thing. He paused for a moment and thought further. But I also didn't get the nameless divine arts. At this point, the system displayed a notification. Nameless divine arts, skill rank S. A skill with some similarities to the nameless divine arts. It includes basic combat skills and the thunder steps. Once you master this martial art, you will have a chance to display your true self. The more he thought, the more frustrated he became. This is crazy. It's just an S-rank skill, not SS, yet it includes the thunder steps? I already have all of that. This is so annoying. Saya noticed his bad mood and became very curious. She asked with concern, "You seem to be angry. Is it because of the top 100 match?" Hearing that, Jihan awkwardly scratched his face and replied, Yeah." He answered vaguely, not explaining clearly to her because he thought to himself, "My future is more complicated than just the top 100. Before he could say anything more, she asked again, "But you're going to win, right?" At this, he was a bit startled and turned to look at her. She, on the other hand, had a proud expression, marveling, "You always find a way." Yunsea sighed in relief and continued, "So I'm not worried. You'll definitely show up and say you won first place." Seeing this, she suddenly got excited and laughed. "Maybe I should go predict the results. I'll bet everything on you." He put on a serious face and replied, "Don't. If you do that, I'll be mad." Immediately, Saya lost all interest and turned to look at Sung Ji-han coldly, asking, "Why? But you do it too. You're allowed to, but I'm not." Then he casually asserted, "Yes, that stuff isn't for kids to play with." After that, she sulked, turned her face away and said, "That's ridiculous. Fine, I won't praise you anymore." He had just replied, "That's a good idea, half of it," when suddenly a light flashed from his eye, startling him. In a flash, it returned to normal. He touched his eye, full of confused wonder. What was that? The scene changes to a quiet park at night. Sung Ji-han was sitting alone on a wooden gazebo, meditating. His eyes were closed, his fingers touching. At this moment, while he was quiet, he broke out in a sweat. He frowned, thinking, something is strange. He was listening within his body and felt something. I can feel something different in my left eye. This is the first time I've experienced such a strange sensation. I have to get rid of this energy. In his inner world, he was struggling painfully. He tried to destroy the light from his eye earlier. He focused his spirit and strength, using his internal energy to slowly find its location and then destroy it. During this time, he was in extreme pain, gritting his teeth to endure it. A crack sound was heard, and everything returned to normal. Smoke rose from his eye. Sung Ji-han couldn't stop groaning. Ouch, so painful. Did my eye pop out? Tears flowed uncontrollably from his eye. The system then displayed, "Trace of the wandering martial god has been removed." He looked at the system notifications, stunned. Player Sung Ji-han is now completely free from the control of constellations. Immediately, he was incredibly surprised. A million questions popped into his head. What? Free? What does that mean? Then he stood up abruptly. The words on the screen continued to appear. From now on, you can receive blessings from other constellations. He slowly took off his hood, deep in thought. From now on? Does that mean until now? I couldn't receive support from other constellations? He immediately realized the anomaly. This system never lies. So that means the martial god has been interfering all this time. Thinking this, the corner of his mouth curled into a dangerous smile, as if he knew everything. He immediately sat down with a plop. Sung Ji-han laughed mockingly. Seriously, I thought he was so generous. Turns out he's been a freeloader all this time. As soon as he finished speaking, the screen immediately displayed, "The wandering martial god has become more cautious of player Sung Ji-han." He looked up and thought to himself, "What's this?" Words appeared on the screen again. The wandering martial god has quickly hidden his traces. At this point, a huge question mark appeared over his head. He just found it funny and thought, what's wrong with this constellation? Then he mumbled to himself, being careful with a bronze player isn't enough. Now he's hiding too. Why would a martial god be like this? His face was grim. Even though this is my second life, I still have too many questions. Well, from now on, I can't use the martial god's power anymore. After saying that, he stood up, hands on his hips, and said, Tisk, there's no other way. He already had a plan in mind. I have no choice but to seize this opportunity and find a new constellation. Then he smirked and thought, just in time. His hand immediately pressed something on the screen in front of him. There's an opportunity. Immediately, the screen showed an epic quest. Find and challenge the Dark Queen at the Colosseum. Reward, 50,000 achievement points. The interest of the Dark Queen constellation. Ji-han walked while carefully studying this interesting quest. In his heart, he was secretly calculating. If I want to defeat the Dark Queen, what should I do tomorrow? First, he just thought, now I have to fill the void left by the martial god. But suddenly, he stopped, remembering something. Ah, right. I still have that thing. The scene shifts to the next morning. The sky was filled with brilliant, colorful fireworks. Below was the majestic and vast Colosseum, signaling the start of the Top 100 Bronze Tournament. A comment from Ba Craer read, Everyone's placed their bets, right? The large screen announced the rules of the competition. The match will continue until only one player remains alive. Right at that moment, in the middle of the arena, Ji-han stood alone, surrounded by other formidable-looking opponents. A series of accounts commented, naturally counting 1, 2, 3. The board displayed the message, Prove that you are the best. Others continuously commented, Korea and Sung Ji-han, go, go, get the number 1 spot. Despite this, Sung Ji-han remained calm, his eyes closed. Suddenly, he slowly opened his eyes, a sharp and dangerous glint within them. He said in a low voice, I don't plan on taking down these side characters one by one. He paused for a moment and shouted, Now come at me, all of you! Instantly, from all sides, they rushed towards him. His eyes turned white, his jaw clenched, and he held a staff, ready to retaliate. He thought, let's finish this quickly. The power of the staff pierced through the weaker opponents, who were quickly defeated on the spot. A viewer commented, "Are they really going to target Sung Ji-han? The foreigners are in an uproar too." "The most fearsome man!" Ji-han immediately took a defensive stance against an attack from above. While defending, he still sensed danger approaching from behind. A comment praised him. "He truly is a legend who cannot be defeated." Then his eyes turned bright red, flashing with killing intent. His fingers drew in red streams of energy, which then enveloped his staff. He bent down and moved in the opposite direction, causing the dangerous attack from behind to hit the person in front of him. He rushed towards the attacker. The other guy was preparing to use a skill, excitedly saying, "I can't believe you'd drop your weapon and run." Arrogant, but unfortunately for him, he had messed with the wrong person. A precise punch landed on his face. The punch sent him staggering backward, almost hitting the ground. At this moment, Ji-han calmly thought, "So it's not just Baron here, but him too. I shouldn't waste energy and should finish this quickly." But it seems he had been careless, as a sword tip appeared from above, pointing right between his eyes. The female swordswoman decisively slashed, and he couldn't react in time. He immediately covered his face and stood frozen on the spot. Then he opened his eyes wide, turning to see who it was. Suddenly, he was even more panicked, as if he couldn't believe it. "What?" A name flashed in his mind with doubt. "Lim Ga-yoon?" She also turned to look back with a cold gaze. Sung Ji-han was in disbelief and extremely confused. "Why are you here?" Sung Ji-han's memories returned to the Galaxy Cup. He fell into deep thought. After the Galaxy Cup opened, when we were gradually getting used to the fact that dying in the game also meant losing your life in the real world. When the screen displayed a red "Game Over," it was also the end of a life. The system announced, "The game is about to begin." On the day of the Northeast Asia Tournament Finals, the Northeast Asia Cup finally began. At that time, the representative for Japan in the finals was, of course, the Sword King. At that time, in Korea, no one could stand against him. Too afraid to face death, the Korean rankers avoided fighting him. But the one who stood up to face the Sword King as Korea's representative was the successor candidate to the Sword King, none other than the Peach Blossom Sword, Lim Ga-yoon. Thinking of this, he was confused. But suddenly, her sword grazed his face. If he hadn't reacted in time to dodge, he would have likely been defeated by her. Afterwards, he was still stunned and wondered, why is she here? She never made it into the top 100 before. As he was lost in thought, has the future changed? He skillfully executed movements to dodge Lim Ga-yoon's dangerous slashes, but he couldn't let himself be at a disadvantage for long. He immediately used his hand to block her sword. In this situation, she used her strength to break free, gritting her teeth. He then forced the sword down, preparing a lightning-fast kick to counterattack. His leg was surrounded by blue and yellow lightning bolts, the heaven-shattering thunder steps technique. Then he kicked her hard, and she couldn't dodge in time. She couldn't help but fall backward. During this time, Sung Ji-han continued to control his staff from a distance, making it fly towards him. He grabbed the staff, preparing to land another blow. He thought, this isn't the time. Lim Ga-yoon was already in considerable pain from the kick and was about to receive another attack, but she reacted very quickly and managed to dodge the fatal blow. She immediately regained the initiative and lunged forward, swinging her sword to attack him. All this time, he had been silently assessing her. Has she always been this strong? Her continuous slashes put him on the defensive, forcing him to retreat. Witnessing her strength, he was completely stunned. No, she's gotten stronger. Compared to the last time I met her, she's on a completely different level. He observed her skillful swordsmanship and assessed, she's eliminated all her unnecessary movements. Then he remembered her strength and movement. Every one of her attacks is full of power. Even her footsteps are lighter. Meanwhile, Ga-yoon's eyes were filled with killing intent. She swung her sword forcefully towards him, but he immediately used his staff to block it. The two weapons collided with a piercing sound. At close range, he saw her determined and calm face, and couldn't help but wonder, in the time I haven't seen her, what happened? Back to a previous time, Lee Hyeon asked her, how are your BattleNet points? Without waiting for Ga Yun to answer, she continued, "It seems you've been grinding points lately, haven't you?" The question left her unsure how to answer, only stammering, Then she lowered her head, seeming not to want to talk. But after a moment, she looked up at Hyon and replied, "Actually, I made it into the bronze top 100. Hearing this, Hyon was in disbelief and asked, "What? Top 100? Wait, you've reached level 25? Ga Yun honestly replied, Yes, I got there by chance." She continued, "I always get first place, unless I run into Sung Ji-han." At this, Hyon jumped up excitedly and exclaimed, "Wow, such good news. Why didn't you tell me sooner?" But Ga Yun suddenly became serious. I want to ask for your help with something." Seeing this, she was surprised and wondered, "Help?" Ga Yun's hands, covered in wounds and bandages, clenched tightly, as if she had something difficult to say. Mustering all her courage, she asked hesitantly, "Can I ask for new equipment? I don't want to blame the equipment, but after using it for so long, I've realized that this sword is too heavy for me." As she spoke, she touched the hilt of her sword. "I've tried to get used to it, but my hands can't take it. This is the precious sword you gave me, so saying these words makes me feel very guilty." Hearing this, Hyon was completely stunned. Suddenly she shouted, "Lim Ga-yun, are you crazy? You idiot, why are you only telling me now?" She let out a stream of pent-up anger. "How much has that sword been holding you back?" Ga-yun replied, "But my scores were still high, so I thought these words would sound like an excuse." Hyon, not giving in, continued, "That just means you could have done even better." At this point, she resolutely said, "Even if I have to use my own money, I will get you a sword that is both good and lighter. So throw that weapon away right now." Ga Yun calmly exposed her words. "Didn't you throw all your money into betting?" Hyon awkwardly retorted, "Of course not." Immediately, she took out her phone, about to call someone. Then she turned her back and said, "You're such an idiot. I'll get you another weapon as soon as possible." Ga Yun was a bit skeptical and asked, "But are you sure?" Hyon waved her hand dismissively. "It's fine. Just remember to show someone what you're capable of in this promotion round." Hearing this, Ga Yun was surprised to realize she knew. Hyon smiled and continued, "And if you focus, you can even beat Sung Ji-han." Ga Yun immediately understood her meaning, that she was comparing herself to Sung Ji-han. The following words of encouragement moved Ga Yun. "No matter what others say, you are still the rising star of the Korean Bronze Cup. You just need to prove yourself." She thought to herself, "She's genuinely cheering for me and saying I can rise to a higher rank." Hyun's final words gave her confidence and strength. "Let's have a good match in the top 100. She froze for a moment, then smiled and agreed. "Okay." Her heart was filled with emotion and gratitude. "Thank you, miss." Back in the fight, she seemed to be at a disadvantage against Jihan's attacks. "I'm sorry, miss, but I don't think I can keep that promise." She seemed unable to withstand it as the staff hit her jaw hard. However, her face still showed a resilient expression. In her mind, she was now telling her young lady, "The current me." Ga Yun was very aware of her own strength and her opponent's. "Knows that I can't beat Sung Ji-han." At this point, he seemed to read her thoughts and replied in his mind, "That's right. You know you can't win." Even though her body was covered in injuries, she continued to stand up and fight with all her might. He couldn't help but marvel. "So why are you trying so hard?" Seeing her use every means to fight back and attack him, he just thought she could have survived much longer if she fought against weaker opponents. It was the same in the Northeast Asia finals, and now... But suddenly, she spoke, interrupting his thoughts. "I know better than anyone that the me of now cannot defeat you." Hearing this, he was a bit surprised and stopped his actions. She continued, charging forward to fight. "Perhaps I will never be able to defeat you." Her next words momentarily stunned him. "But if I give up, then everything will be over." It seemed she had reached her limit. Her sword pointed straight to the sky. She resiliently said, "If I can't surpass you..." At this, her eyes widened with determination. "Then I will do my best to catch up to you." Right after, she stood straight, her hand still pointing the sword to the sky. She was now like a strong cherry blossom tree in the wind, fighting until her last breath. The surrounding light gathered towards her sword, seemingly preparing for this final technique. Sung Ji-han was stunned for a moment, then let out a sigh. He thought about her personality. That's right, she was always this type of person. A player who could continue to fight to improve, even though she knew she couldn't win against her opponent. He remembered her fight with the Sword King in his previous life. The Sword King killed her with his twin swords. But in this life, she had made it to the top 100. At this moment, he stood under the cherry blossom tree and thought deeply. Now I'm curious how much my regression will change the future. Then he looked up and smiled faintly. I've always had this thought. In front of him was a slender, resilient girl with a beautiful cherry blossom tree behind her. The two combined to form an surreal picture. He remembered his organization and came to a conclusion. But Lim Ga-yoon, from her personality to her strength, has won me over. He immediately made a firm assertion in his mind. I need you on my side. Right at this moment, she unleashed her secret technique. Peach Blossom Storm. Instantly, 3 or 4 clones appeared, attacking with a barrage of slashes. He immediately went on the defensive, then exclaimed, "It's not very suitable for spear techniques." His eyes flashed with light. He continued, "But there is one technique that is very suitable for this situation." As soon as he finished, he immediately used the technique Trinity Arts Earth Style. A golden light erupted, blindingly bright. Right after, the cherry blossom tree exploded in an instant. That was sweeping the 1,000 armies. In a lobby, a group of Americans were standing, and it seemed they were about to have a 4-on-1 battle. Everyone's face was extremely serious. Among them, a bald, dark-skinned man who seemed to be the leader gritted his teeth and said, "So we meet again here." That man was Clark Jr., the number 3 ranked Bronze Warrior player in the U.S. Then, Jr. called out the name of the person standing opposite him. Baron Williams. He was an American man with blonde hair and blue eyes. His name was Baron Williams, the number 1 support and mage in the USA. A notification from the system appeared. The battle will continue until only one person is left. Clark spoke contemptuously. The world is coming to an end. To think that a cowardly bastard who always needs others' help is the most promising talent. Hearing this, Baron looked uninterested. He raised his hand to his mouth and let out a loud yawn, then replied, "I'll show you the difference." Baron continued, "Just a bunch of insects. Why so noisy?" Clark's men were furious at being so thoroughly insulted. They shouted, "Damn it!" The number 1 bronze player in the U.S., Baron Williams, began to cast a spell. On his palm, red lightning bolts gradually appeared, converging into a small sphere in the middle. He challenged them, "Stop talking and come at me." The system board lit up with a notification. "Prove that you are the strongest." Baron seemed to go berserk, his power suddenly surging uncontrollably. A grotesque smile gradually lost its humanity as he shouted, "I will burn you all." He was a war maniac. As soon as Baron finished his sentence, Clark's men unleashed their powers and charged at Baron. One created water, another shot arrows, and Clark appeared with a flaming fist, flying high and preparing to strike down on Baron. Baron showed no fear. With just one hand, he could crush Clark's face before Clark could even touch him. A red aura from Baron's hand spread across Clark's face, causing him immense pain. Clark took the full force of Baron's attack. The terrifying power from him was enough to blast away everyone else who was trying to attack Baron from behind. Another group of people continued to charge, shouting, "Damn it! Kill that bastard first!" At that moment, Baron was burning Clark's face with his red flames. Hearing the words of the men rushing towards him, Baron turned his head, his eyes glowing with a murderous red hue and a sinister, challenging smile. "Kill that bastard? Me?" Immediately, Baron flew straight towards the group, shouting, "You insects!" As he flew, flames erupted, attacking the group head-on, defeating them all with ease. Baron's face looked truly sadistic. He seemed to not care about the number of lives he took. It had become a source of amusement in his fighting style. He laughed mockingly. "Die, you lowly creatures." He was the strongest player, always full of confidence, never humble. Finally, Baron's eyes showed a hint of surprise as he noticed something glowing and shining directly in his line of sight. A stream of golden light created by someone had knocked down many people trying to rush him. That one person, with his terrifying power, had defeated many people, and that had attracted Baron's attention. It was Sung Ji-han. He was also fighting alongside Baron, and his power was so terrifying that it was hard for anyone to compare. Even he couldn't help but. Baron's eyes reflected a mix of surprise, worry, and genuine fear as he witnessed the immense power of Ji-han. He acknowledged that Ji-han's power was just like in the world before his regression. An image of Baron and Ji-han in another world appeared. The two stood opposite each other, both focused on observing their opponent. Baron approached Ji-han and said, "Hey." Ji-han stood still, waiting to see what Baron intended to do. Ji-han's gaze towards Baron was as if he wanted to defeat him on the spot, due to his vigilance. When Baron approached, he pointed at him and continued, "You're that guy, aren't you? The invincible Sung Ji-han." Ji-han looked at him and nodded, but when he heard him mispronounce his name, he sighed and corrected him. "It's Ji-han. Ji-han has a bad meaning in Korean." Ji-han can mean pervert in Korean. Realizing his mistake, Baron couldn't help but cover his face and burst out laughing, but quickly apologized, though with a mocking tone. "I'm sorry. I'm not good with the languages of trashy countries." Then he opened his eyes wide, now turned blue, and said, "Hope you understand." He repeated his mistake of calling him Ji-han, and immediately launched an attack. A stream of blue light with immense power enveloped Ji-han's entire body, while Baron stood there, smiling in satisfaction. But he was suddenly surprised. As he saw something about Ji-han after his attack. Ji-han, despite taking a direct hit, was not affected in terms of power. He quickly broke free from Baron's technique and rushed in front of him. Baron seemed surprised by Ji-han's strength and said, "It seems you're not as bad as the rest of them." But his face was incredibly indifferent, and he had no intention of dodging Ji-han's attack. Ji-han used his Thunder Steps technique, thrusting the staff he was holding towards him with incredible speed, blue lightning coursing along the staff. But suddenly, Ji-han's gaze changed. He glanced upwards after thrusting his staff forward because Baron was saying, "Since when?" Baron had dodged his attack and was now standing in the sky, casting some kind of spell and creating many magic circles in the air. He provoked Ji-han. "Struggle as much as you like." Immediately, he launched streams of power from those circles down to where Ji-han was standing. Ji-han quickly dodged them and charged straight at Baron. He thrust his staff towards Baron, but he quickly dodged it. While dodging, he laughed out loud, pleased that his opponent's technique was useless against him. He dodged Ji-han's move, then quickly created a circle in his hand to prepare an attack from behind him. While laughing, he said, "For a mere insect," he said, while launching a technique straight at Ji-han. "To dare look up at the sky." The terrifying power of Baron rushed towards Ji-han, creating a massive explosion below. Ji-han was caught in his technique while he stood above, still boasting, "Know your place." Ji-han looked up at the sky where Baron was standing. Baron's circles continued to operate. A notification of another fierce attack followed, and his voice still rang out. "This is the end." The other people fighting each other had to look up at the sky, fearing that power would affect them. The entire arena was flooded with a red hue from Baron's circles, while he stood in the sky, arrogantly saying, "A fitting end for an insect like you." Then he activated his technique and shouted, "Die!" A massive red energy blast descended, shaking everything. The terrifying power struck down all the people on the arena floor. He didn't care how many he killed. He just wanted to show off his power and endanger the lives of many. Those hit by the technique were in extreme pain, screaming desperately, "Ah!" and unable to escape that power. Below Baron, a sea of blazing red fire was consuming the entire arena. There were no longer any human figures, only a terrifying, all-encompassing red. Baron stood in the sky, watching the scene, extremely excited. He laughed loudly and said, "That's it. Have you learned your lesson?" Suddenly a voice rang out. "Thanks." And then, a look of horror on Baron's face as, from the sea of red fire, a golden light suddenly shot up towards his face. Jihan was not harmed by his technique. Instead, he used his staff to sweep away the sea of fire, simultaneously blowing away everyone below, revealing everything more clearly. The word annihilation appeared along with Jihan's voice. "Thanks to you, I was able to kill a bunch of people." The notification board showed, "Player Sung Jihan has scored a kill, double kill, triple kill, quadra kill, pentakill." The ranking board of 100 showed Sung Jihan in first place. Seeing this, he arrogantly said to Baron, "I've taken the #1 spot." Baron, seeing Jihan still alive after his attack and even taking the #1 spot, was completely stunned. He thought, how could he have survived? I used all my internal energy combined with hellfire, so if he touched it, he should have been burned to death. Baron looked down at his flames and seemed to have realized something. Baron realized with astonishment, the flames didn't even touch him. Baron's flames caused no damage to Jihan, as he had thought. The flames only surrounded Jihan, and upon realizing this, Baron considered a possibility. He said, "Don't tell me!" Baron shouted, "You're also using divine power?" Jihan looked up at him, and his eyes had at some point turned red, along with a triumphant smile that Baron had only just realized it. Baron shouted in anger, "Impossible! I have 2 status windows, so I should be the only one who can use divine power. What kind of trick are you pulling, Jihan?" Jihan looked up, saw Baron's anger, and replied cheerfully, "What trick? It just means you're not the only one, right, Baron?" Baron's eyes began to turn red, his face aghast, while Jihan continued, "Now that I've experienced it firsthand, I see." Jihan continued to mock, "How terrible your skills are." Hearing this, Baron was furious. His rage boiled over, out of control. He gritted his teeth, creating an incredibly terrifying source of divine power from the sky. The divine power he created was so massive it had to radiate outwards, forming a circle around him. Jihan stood still below, observing the situation, showing no signs of action. His hellfire began to burn again. He angrily cursed Jihan for his mockery. "You insect who only knows how to imitate," he shouted. "How dare you insult me?" Then he created a towering wall of hellfire. The flames surrounded him and Jihan, who was standing below. He continued, "I will burn you until you're deformed." Jihan also began to gather his divine power. He replied to Baron very calmly, "I can't let you do that." Then, from Jihan's hand, a blue crystal shard had appeared, along with the words, "I haven't shown you everything I've prepared yet." The scene shifts to the night before, when Jihan had just returned from exercising and was looking something up on the system panel. He looked at the system and thought, even if I take the Dark Queen as a constellation, what should I do for tomorrow's promotion match? Suddenly, he thought of a problem. Then he started thinking, I need to fill the void left by the martial god. He continued, right, I still have this. On the system, an image of a crystal shard appeared. Blesses the player once. This item can only be used in the bronze and silver ranks. Back to the match. Jihan had crushed the crystal shard in his hand. The system board lit up. You have used the crystal shard and have been blessed. Meanwhile, Baron was still standing in the air, preparing to attack him. After absorbing the power, he said, Good. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. The system board lit up. All stats of player Sung Jihan have been increased by 50%. His eyes glowed red. His body was overflowing with divine power. He taunted, Let's fight. I will destroy you. The scene shifts to Baron's past. That coward. Baron was once a coward. The image of Baron appeared with a gloomy, sad, and somewhat weak face. He was not as tall or muscular as the others, and a bit timid. When it came to fighting, a player like him felt scared. Baron was abandoned by his teammates. He stood alone behind, afraid, while his teammates resented him. When they talked about Baron, others would always say, "What a waste of a gift." Baron's face looked terrified, sweating, his eyes anxious. 2 status windows and 2 professions. A mysterious figure, all in black, appeared with a sword, and behind him were 2 empty status windows. If he could utilize it, he would dominate BattleNet. But Baron chose support and mage. Baron stood behind, watching his teammates fight. While they all rushed in to show off their strength, he hesitated, scared, standing behind. In other words, he would always stand behind his teammates. But Baron's gaze suddenly changed. After obtaining divine power, Baron changed. His eyes gradually turned red, looking incredibly frightening. He began to overwhelm everyone thanks to the mana he possessed. Baron used his power, made it stronger, and he defeated many people. Countless rising stars fell at his hands. The players who fought him all said that Baron held 2 calamities. Baron was now extremely famous, sought after by many media outlets for interviews. The first calamity, Fire Tide. This technique allowed him to wash away all enemies with a massive wave of fire. The image of huge flames engulfing the entire space appeared. No one had ever survived facing this technique. The wave of fire swept through, destroying everything. It left no one a path to survival, drowning them to death. That's right, it's true. Baron appeared with a demonic face and a smile that was losing its humanity. He seemed very pleased with what he had done. The scene returns to the arena between Baron and Jihan. He was still standing in the sky with a triumphant smile. What is happening? The match unfolded. Jihan threw his staff straight into the sky. The divine power he generated was so great that it blew away all of Baron's red flames with just one blow, a single thrust. Jihan's face was tense, concentrating all his power on the attack on Baron. A beam of light from Jihan's staff shot straight towards Baron. The terrifying power pierced through the wave of fire, straight up into the sky. Baron, witnessing that power, couldn't help but be horrified. He thought, "How is this possible?" Jihan saw Baron's terror and smiled in response. "I knew it. On the outside you look strong, but on the inside, you're empty." Then, Jihan used immense force to charge straight at Baron. His speed was like a great lightning bolt streaking across the sky. He launched his attack straight at Baron and said, "Instead of compensating for your lack of skill, you just keep hiding it." His attack was incredibly fast and precise. Its speed was such that even Baron couldn't avoid the blow. Jihan landed on the ground, stuck his staff down, and continued to mock. "Your attacks have no accuracy at all." He used the force from the staff to launch himself straight into the sky, then brought down a technique like a pillar of light straight onto Baron. The ferocity of the blow cracked and collapsed the ground. He continued, "That's the kind of person you are, Baron Williams." After beating Baron to a pulp and leaving him unable to resist, Jihan landed in front of him. Baron at this point weakly asked, "You talk as if you know me so well." Jihan heard this and smiled in response. "You're very similar to someone I used to know. No matter how much you pretend to be strong and try to show confidence." An image of an older man who looked very much like Baron appeared. The man flew into the air, surrounded by people who revered him. Jihan's voice continued, "You still can't hide the inferiority complex and guilt buried deep in your heart." Baron sat up on the pile of rubble, his face downcast and full of sorrow. Suddenly, he looked up, his blue eyes staring at Jihan with a terrifying intensity. Jihan's voice rang out again. "Training to become more muscular, changing your appearance and using those flashy skills to comfort yourself. If you yourself don't change, then all those tricks mean nothing." An image of the man resembling Baron appeared, and behind him was a wave of fire similar to Baron's. Baron slowly stood up, his legs heavy from the damage he had taken. He said, "I really don't like that arrogance of yours." Jihan looked at Baron and smiled, saying, "Me too." Then he thought, "I hope this teaches you a lesson." Then he stomped his foot hard on the ground. Lightning bolts flashed from his foot and he said, "So let's stop chatting." He charged straight at Baron, thrusting his staff towards him and said, "And end this fight." Then Baron suddenly raised his hand as if intending to do something. Then he thrust it towards Jihan, launching an attack at him that he couldn't react to in time. The lightning from Baron sent Jihan flying. It was the ultimate technique, lightning. Jihan was sent flying and was injured. His shirt was torn and his face was in extreme pain. Baron launched the technique and said, "They call this one the second calamity." Baron's second calamity, lightning, unlike the wide-area attack Fire Tide, was a high-level skill that focused mana to pierce straight through the enemy. This skill was very suitable for Baron. Baron unleashed his divine power, his face contorting as he focused on a ball of electricity that appeared below his hand. Because its key point is the amount of power you have, not the ability to control it precisely. Baron gradually flew into the air, lifted by the divine power from his body. He said, while Jihan was injured and unable to stand up, Baron saw this and said, "I'm surprised you could take a direct hit and still be alive." Jihan looked up at him with an angry expression. Baron saw this and thought, he used his spear to block the blow at the last second to avoid serious injury. At this point, Jihan was using his staff to block Baron's attack. Baron marveled, "Your reaction is fast." Seeing Jihan's injuries, Baron said, "Although you couldn't completely block that attack." Baron clenched his fist, preparing to strike again with a threat. "You might block it once, but there won't be a second time." Baron's eyes turned completely red. He seemed to be preparing to unleash his full power. He used all his divine power to create a stream of blue lightning and a stream of red lightning. He was in the air, gathering the power into a sphere in the middle and preparing to throw it straight at Jihan. The other participants, seeing this technique, felt fear for Jihan. A man said, "It seems Baron is serious this time." A woman also felt the pressure. "Sung Jihan is finished. Even he can't block that move." Jihan stood still, looking straight at Baron without a hint of wavering. Everyone predicted that Sung Jihan would lose, but only Sung Jihan himself predicted he would win. A woman had appeared above the arena floor and was watching the match. That was because the Dark Queen's gaze was focused on him. Suddenly, Jihan let out a sinister smile. Sung Jihan adjusted his stance. He gripped his staff tightly and raised it. His stance became more active, more stable. He held the staff, aiming straight ahead, and just as Baron was about to unleash his lightning, Baron saw Jihan's defensive stance and was also completely shocked by Jihan's quick recovery. He continued to launch his lightning technique. Before he could even act, Jihan was one step ahead. He unleashed the Phoenix Arrow technique. A beam of light flew up, piercing straight through Baron's body. The staff left Sung Jihan's hand, soaring straight into the sky like a flash, piercing through Baron and cutting him in two. Sung Jihan did not hesitate, even though he knew. Jihan's face was incredibly calm. That after 5 uses, the Phoenix Arrow will disappear. Behind his hair was a triumphant smile and a joyful attitude. That was the target of the Phoenix Arrow. The arrow continued to fly straight forward. Meanwhile, Jihan didn't need to do anything. The staff did everything for him. The Dark Queen was still standing above, observing. It wasn't Baron. The staff flew straight towards the Dark Queen. The Dark Queen, seeing the staff about to fly towards her, was extremely panicked. The staff pierced straight towards the Dark Queen, creating a massive explosion that lit up everything around. For the first time in history, the arena's barrier was broken. The arena's barrier was broken, creating a large hole in it. As the battle between the two was about to conclude, his continuous attacks forced him to struggle to defend. Sung Jihan, holding his spear, powerfully struck him. When he was sent flying, he swiftly moved in for a finishing blow. The commentator's voice echoed throughout the stadium. "Sung Jihan, Korea's top rising star. He's gaining the upper hand against the almighty Baron." Lee Haeyeon, who had bet everything on Baron, was watching the match on a broadcast. She couldn't believe the unfolding events and screamed in agony. "Huh? How is Sung Jihan so good at fighting?" In that spacious room, surrounded only by a desk, chairs, and a bookshelf, her wails filled the air. "How could he defeat Baron like that? It's absurd." She was so focused on the match before her, in her misery. Lee Haeyeon clutched her head with both hands, screaming, "Ah! Oh no! At this rate, I'm going to lose all the money I made last time." not knowing that Lim Gayun had entered the room. She quietly approached Lee Hyeon so she wouldn't notice, then suddenly said, "So you didn't even consider the possibility that I might win?" The words immediately stopped Lee Hyeon's torment. Surprised, Lee Hyeon reflexively called out, "Gayun?" while she could only sigh in acceptance. "I kind of expected it, but it's still a bit sad." Unexpectedly, Lee Hyeon didn't offer comfort but was instead even more blunt. "No need to be sad. As soon as the match started, you had basically already lost." This one sentence was enough to silence Lim Gayun. But Lee Hyeon continued, "You need to go much further than this. Only then will I pay attention to you." Lim Gayun, hearing this, blushed with embarrassment, though her face remained as serious as ever. Lee Hyeon looked at her adorable appearance and could only sigh helplessly, noticing something unusual about her. Lee Hyeon probed, "But you seem to be in a very good mood, don't you? It's like you've lifted a burden off your shoulders."